Here we have a Holley 4-barrel carburetor. This is the Holley model 4180C. This is a 4-barrel vacuum secondary carburetor that was used by Ford, primarily Ford truck, and their V8 engine applications there in the 70s and early 80s. This is a conventional carburetor, meaning it's no feedback, no oxygen sensor, no computer whatsoever. In fact, there are no electronics whatsoever on this carburetor. In fact, all through the early development of internal combustion engines, the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, the majority of passenger cars and light-duty trucks used conventional carburetors, and they work very well, thank you. So it's kind of interesting if you would have said to somebody 50 years ago that an advanced microcomputer was going to be replacing this simple pneumatic device, then they would probably wonder why. It works very well. Here we see the choke for our initial cold startup and drive away. And as we look at the carburetor, it actually has 7 circuits. And what we'll talk about is that it has an idle circuit, has a main metering circuit, power enrichment and circuit, accelerator pump circuit, and then we have, of course, obviously the choke. Now, this carburetor had sat for a long period of time, and it had spent a few hours soaking in the Safety Clean cold immersion cleaner, and it does a beautiful job. Of course, obviously it can't get the rust, but all of the gum and varnish are nicely removed. So what we have done is purchased a overhaul kit, and the overhaul kit basically includes all of the gaskets and the rubber diaphragms, the power enrichment valve, the accelerator pump diaphragm, and our needle and seats there for our float bowls. So as we put this carburetor together, she'll be good as new. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll take a look at the carburetor after it's completely assembled. Basic tools are used. Just simply Phillips and flathead screwdrivers, a pair of needle nose pliers, O-ring pick helps. Make sure you have a strong magnet. This just helps capture little E-clips, etc., except I get fresh ones in the kit, so if you lose one, hey, it's no big deal. Of course, with these carts like this, they're pretty good at capturing any small part. Okay, here we go. Here's our Holley carburetor, manufactured by Holley for Motorcraft. And as we mentioned, this is application would be a Ford 351 Windsor in a Ford pickup truck. This could be in the 1970s or very early 80s. This is a conventional 4-barrel carburetor, vacuum secondaries, solely electric choke. And here we see our choke vacuum brake. What this is going to do is, as I start the engine, intake manifold vacuum will pull the choke open slightly. Here we're very concerned about evaporative emissions, so I have 2 bowl vents that will go to the charcoal canister, help capture raw hydrocarbons escaping during a hot soak condition. And here we see the internal bowl vents there within the air cleaner. These are the needle and seat adjustments. They have been adjusted, but on the Holley carburetor there is a adjustment port where I can actually check the float level there with the engine running. But imagine how this actually works. I take this screw out and look at the float level. If it just barely runs out, it's right. So I wouldn't think that'd be a real good idea on a running engine, but hey, that's the back in the day. Here we see ported vacuum for a vacuum advanced distributor. Here we see intake manifold vacuum, and this could be for a variety of sources. Here they were actually putting steel caps on the idle adjustment screws, and of course those have been removed, not in this operation but long ago. And there I have a small Allen that is It's a 3/32 Allen. Of course, there's no metric on this carburetor. This is a all standard carburetor. And here we see the primary throttles. And there's air velocity picks up within the Venturi of the secondary. The secondary actuator, or vacuum diaphragm, opens the secondaries. And of course we see the idle and off-idle passages. And I see additional off-idle and pullover enrichment. I don't believe these are actually used at all in this one. There's no adjustment. And here we see the boost Venturi, main Venturi. And the boost and main Venturis there in the primary. Now it's interesting that this carburetor, not only does it incorporate no electronics to speak of at all, it's strictly pneumatic hydraulic, but in its design, and of course Holley designed these carburetors long ago, back during the Second World War, there was no computer, just simply a slide rule. They didn't even have an electronic calculator. Now how does this actually work? Well, for many years I've driven vehicles that had conventional carburetors, and oftentimes you might have a little bit of a stumble on initial startup and drive away, but otherwise, no, they run just fine. The only thing is there's a little bit of maintenance involved. Every couple of years you need to go through the carburetor and freshen up the gaskets, needle and seat, and clean it up. But otherwise, hey, it's very simple, very basic, worked very, very well. And of course, as far as controlling air-fuel ratio, it was always approximate. But hey, how close do we really have to get? And this is back in the days before the catalytic converter. So I wanted to adjust the mixture correctly so that I would get my maximum fuel economy, but I of course wanted a smooth running engine and maximum power. So there it is, the Holley 4-barrel carburetor. This is older than probably many people watching this video. Or maybe I shouldn't say that, because the people watching this video would remember this carburetor. So